Happy November! Today I'll be sharing with you this really elegant off-shoulder sweater that is really easy to make, easily adjustable to your size, and perfect for that special occasion. And if you're new to my videos, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel and also click that notification bell. For today's project, I'm using Soft and Shiny by Loops and Threads, which is available at Michael's. This is a category 4 yarn. I'll also be using 3 hooks, a 5.5, 4.5, and a 3.5 millimeter hook. We will need some stitch markers, a pair of scissors, measuring tape, and a tapestry needle. First, we'll take our 5.5 millimeter hook, and we will be working on the body panel first. We'll be working on the side, so we'll chain the length from our underarm all the way down to our hips. I'm making a size medium, so I would work up 60 chains. Once we've completed all our chains, we'll chain 1, and from the second chain from the hook, we'll insert a hook, drop a loop, pull through that 1 loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. This will be our first herringbone stitch. We'll do that again. We'll yarn over, insert a hook, pull through that 1 loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. We'll continue working the herringbone stitch for this entire row, and I'll meet you back here at the end of this row. Once you've completed your first row, we'll chain 1 and turn our work. Now that you've mastered the herringbone stitch, we'll continue working the herringbone stitch for this row and for the next rows until we've reached our desired width of our body panel. Here, I'll be working a total number of 50 rows. Now let's work the second stitch together. We'll insert a hook, drop a loop, pull through the first loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Here I've completed all my 50 rows. Now we'll be working on the underarm. From the bottom of your last row, we'll pick up a stitch marker and count 8 stitches down. We'll place our stitch marker there, like so. Chain 1 if you haven't done so already, and we'll continue the herringbone stitch all the way until we reach the stitch marker. Once you've reached your stitch marker, we'll work 8 chains. Don't forget to chain 1 to turn. Yarn over, insert your hook through that second chain from your hook, and we'll continue to work the herringbone stitch across this chain. And we'll continue to herringbone stitch this entire row. This will mark the second portion of our body panel. Repeat the same number of rows as you did on the first panel. This is how the underarm space should look like. Once you've completed the same number of rows for the front and the back panel, we'll turn our work and we'll be seaming the sides. Just like before, we'll place a stitch marker on the 8th stitch from the top. Then now we'll join the front and back panel together with the same stitch marker. And prepare to seam the sides across. Now we'll use a 3.5mm hook. Insert your hook through that first stitch and pull through one loop to secure. Now we insert a hook through that first stitch made earlier and the first stitch of the back panel, and we'll work one single crochet. Let's zoom in a little bit over here. Now you'll be able to see. We'll insert a hook through the second stitch of the front and back panel and work a single crochet stitch. Make sure you go through both loops on each panel. Continue to do this for each stitch across until you reach the stitch marker. Once you've done seaming the sides, your underarm portion should look like this, and our body panel is done. Now we'll take our 5.5mm hook and we'll be working on our sleeves. Work up a slip knot, and I'll be working 76 chains, which will be the length from my underarm all the way down to my wrists. On the last stitch, we'll switch hooks. I'll be taking my 3.5mm hook and I'll chain one to turn. I'll insert my hook through that second chain from the hook and I'll work 15 single crochets. This will be for the cuffs. Next, I'll take a stitch marker and place my stitch marker on that last stitch. I'll remove my 3.5mm hook. I'll pick up my 5.5, and on the next stitch, I'll work a herringbone stitch. I'll be working a herringbone stitch across this entire chain, and I'll meet you back here at the end of this row. This is how your first row should look. Now we repeat this process. We'll chain one, turn our work, and on this row I'll work a herringbone stitch all the way down until I reach the stitch marker. On that last stitch, I'll pick up my 3.5mm hook. I'll remove the stitch marker. On the next stitch, I'll work a single crochet through the back loop only. So that will be the loop furthest away from you. Insert your hook and work a single crochet. Now we'll continue to single crochet through the back loop only for each stitch. You can place the stitch marker back on that first single crochet stitch if you like. Continue to single crochet through the back loop of each stitch across, and I'll meet you back here at the end of this row. Once that's done, we'll chain one, we'll turn our work, and we'll continue to single crochet through the back loop only of this 15 stitches until we reach the stitch marker. We'll switch hooks on this last stitch. Place the stitch marker if you like. And we'll continue to work herringbone stitches all the way across this row. We will be repeating this pattern for each row until we've reached the width of our upper arm. Here, I have done a total of 32 rows, and now let's get ready to seam the sides. Fold your sleeves lengthwise. We'll take our 3.5mm hook insert your hook through that first stitch and work one slip stitch to secure. Insert your hook through that first stitch through the front and back panel and work a single crochet. We'll do this for each stitch across, and I'll meet you back here once that's done. Once you've completed your last stitch, we'll chain one to secure, bind off, and we'll make a second sleeve. Now we'll be attaching the sleeves to the body panel. Turn your sleeves inside out while the body panel is on the wrong side out, and insert your sleeves between the body panel along the armhole. Align the front and back panel together and making sure that the sleeve seam is facing down. Grab some stitch markers and pin both sleeves and body panel together so that it'll be easier to seam them together. With a 3.5mm hook, we'll insert our hook through that first stitch of the body panel and across through the sleeve. We'll pick up our yarn and work one slip stitch to secure. Now, just like before, we'll insert a hook to that first stitch through to the back and work a single crochet. Single crochet each stitch across all the way in the round until you reach the last stitch marker. On that last stitch, chain one, bind off, and repeat the same thing on the other side. Once you've completed attaching the arms, it should look something like this. And now we'll proceed to finishing off the shoulder portion. With our 4.5mm hook, we'll insert a hook anywhere along the corner of the sleeves. We'll draw up a loop, chain one, and from here we'll work single crochet stitches along the side. You don't have to single crochet each row as long as it's distributed evenly and not bunched up or is too loose. Continue to do this along the body panel and the sleeves in the round. And once you've reached the first stitch, we'll just slip stitch to join. Now in the next row, we'll insert a hook through that same last stitch and work a herringbone stitch. We'll continue to work the herringbone stitch across in the round, and I'll meet you back here once we're there. Once we've completed the round, we'll insert a hook through that first stitch made earlier and work a slip stitch. We'll chain one. For the next row, we'll turn our work. Now this is our second stitch. In order to work your first stitch, we'll have to insert our hook here where we made our last stitch. So we'll yarn over, insert your hook to that last stitch made, and work your herringbone stitch. Continue to work the herringbone stitch in the round, and if you like, you could also place a stitch marker on that first stitch so you will not miss this stitch. Now we'll be repeating this pattern until we reach our desired length. For me, I have done a total of 32 rows for the shoulder portion. And there you go. Once it's done, it should look something like this. You've just completed your off-shoulder sweater. The top is foldable, completely adjustable, and fun to make. And if you have any questions about the pattern, do drop me a comment below. And if you haven't done so already, do subscribe to this channel. Give me a thumbs up if you like this tutorial, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye and happy hooking!